is the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast.
Hey, there you are. I hope you've had a good week. It's time once again for another edition of the Celebrity Afterlife Report, the only show on the internet that gives you the up-to-the-minute gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities. I'm your host, Celebrity Medium. How's about now we get right into the thick of things? Some listeners may be old enough to remember the Batman TV series from the 60s. Others of you may have seen it in reruns or online. No matter how you've seen it, I'm sure you remember it as campy fun. Now, at least for me as a boy, one of the highlights of the show was always when Batgirl made an appearance in her tight latex costume. Batgirl was played by actress Yvonne Craig, who also appeared as a green-skinned alien woman on an episode of the original Star Trek show, as well as in a few Elvis Presley movies. Ms. Craig transitioned to the next world this past week, and her arrival did not go unnoticed by the denizens of the afterlife. Self-appointed greeter to the stars, Soul Brother #1 James Brown was on hand as usual. James surprised everyone, however, by wearing a Batman costume to her arrival ceremony. According to sources, as it turns out, James was a big fan of the Batman show. Eyewitnesses describe Yvonne as being delighted by the turnout, and she laughed when James jumped in front of her, hands on hips and the classic superhero pose. Like everyone else in the next world, Yvonne looks as she did at her adult prime. So my sources tell me she looked as if she could don the Bat costume and start patrolling Gotham City immediately. After the formal greeting ceremony was over, and she was interviewed by one of my prime sources, Princess Diana, who is now working for a celebrity-oriented Afterlife TV news show, Yvonne was taken aside by Christopher Reeve, who, of course, played Superman in a trio of movies. The source who witnessed the conversation wasn't close enough to overhear what was said between the two actors, but reports that it was very intense, and that when it was over, Yvonne had a big smile on her face, and the two hugged. The source says that it was obvious something big was being planned, and he will report back to me when he has more information. For some reason, this particular story intrigues me, so I'm looking forward to being able to tell you just what's up. Last week, I told you about the train wreck the still under production film The Lassie Squad has become. Rudd Weatherwax, the man behind the Lassie TV show and movies, decided to make an action film about an all-canine look-alike squad of police officers featuring all the collies that played Lassie over the years. Now, as ridiculous as it may seem, the movie was intended to be a straight drama until things on the set took a turn for the unintentionally comedic, with some of the dogs refusing to respond to Weatherwax's off-camera directions and doing such doggy things as licking the camera's lens and humping an actress's leg. Despite all that, as of a few days ago, Weatherwax was sticking to the original game plan. Now, from a trusted source comes word that the producer has surrendered to the inevitable and has had the script rewritten to make the film a comedy. My information is that he's going to try to incorporate as much as the blooper footage as possible to get the shoot back on schedule. Just before recording this episode, I got word that silent film star Buster Keaton has been signed to play the hastily written into the script part of the human commander of the Lassie Squad. There is a rumor that the great Stoneface, as Keaton was known during his legendary movie career, will have no lines in the flick and will play his part completely in silence. So has Rudd Weatherwax found a way to turn this dog of a movie around? We shall see over the coming weeks. Last week, I told you about Orville and Wilbur, the Wright brothers, fighting over the affections of first American woman in space, Sally Ride. As I mentioned, the co-inventors of the airplane met the lady astronaut at a Pioneers in Flight conference held in the next world, and both quickly became enchanted with her, which led to a confrontation between them. At the time, as I reported, Sally hadn't made up her mind about which Wright was right for her. Now it seems the story has taken an unexpected turn. What I didn't know last week, and therefore didn't report, is that Orville and Wilbur's sister Catherine was also at the conference. As you can find out by going to thewrightbrothers.org, Catherine was a very interesting woman in her own right, and I promise that is the last right pun I will make in this story. Anyway, after the brothers left the conference, still angry at each other, Catherine Wright apologized to Sally Ride for their behavior, and the two went off to have a pleasant dinner together. According to sources, apparently things escalated from there, and rumor has it that the Fly Girl and the sister of the Fly Boys are now an item. So that must have been one hell of a dinner. The upshot is that Catherine Wright and Sally Ride are now living together, and Orville and Wilbur are both issuing grumpy no comment to any members of the press who ask them about the subject. Lastly, some listeners to the report will remember Merv Griffin as the host of a talk show that in its day rivaled Johnny Carson's Tonight Show for ratings. Other listeners will be interested to learn that he was also the creator of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, which made him a very rich man. Merv, who is now living as an openly gay man in the afterlife, just announced that he is returning to television as a talk show host with a surprising co-star, Tammy Faye Baker. Tammy Faye was married to Jim Baker, and together they ran the Praise the Lord TV network on the earthly plane, on which they hosted a show for many years. Tammy Faye was best known for her outlandish outfits and makeup. Now, while her husband was most recently hawking bulk foods for survivalists on cable TV, Tammy transitioned to the next world several years ago. Griffin's press release announcing the new show said, quote, "Just like Vanna White, who I personally picked for Wheel of Fortune, Tammy Faye has that certain something that just jumps off the screen. I think she and I together will bring something new to the talk show format," unquote. And that, my friends, is going to do it for this week. Please come back next week when I'll have yet another roundup of the most up-to-the-minute gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities. And please help spread the word that the report is available for free on iTunes and the Celebrity Medium. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast. To ask a question about your favorite deceased celebrity, call 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-369-3732.